Hello, welcome to today's Vista Points podcast, Choose Your Path, where the Vista Points staff are committed to improving the quality of life for those of any age who are living with a disability. Vista Points serves the community by providing professional trustee services and education about special needs trusts. The organization partners with a variety of nonprofit and corporate entities to better the lives of those living with physical, mental, or intellectual disabilities. I'm Bart, your podcast host. In previous episodes, we introduced special needs trusts, what they are, who's involved in their establishment, stories of the people and relationships involved, and how special needs trusts impacted their lives. In this episode, we're springing into action with special needs trusts. We're choosing this topic in celebration of March, Brain Injury Awareness Month, World Birth Defects Day, World Tuberculosis Day, World Down Syndrome Day, National Doctors Day. It's the spring season and the beauty in action it inspires in each of us. A question you may have is, where do I begin? I'm glad you asked. This is a big question in many ways. I believe the steps to begin are indeed small. Just pick up the phone and talk with someone in the industry who can point you in a positive direction. For example, you could call Vista Points at 888-422-4076. The staff is happy to assist you by listening to your story, answering your questions, and guiding you to the next step. That's why we created this podcast, to provide helpful information. In fact, Vista Points encourage you to research other resources to find the best match for your needs. Step 1. Prioritize your loved one's needs, wants, and desired outcomes. Then pick up the phone and allow the experts to listen and help. Now let me tell you a story about a past client. In trust terms, we call that person living with a disability the beneficiary. This client had a traumatic brain injury. His dream was to drive again, but his injury would not permit this. As a trustee, there is a fiduciary responsibility to the beneficiary to help him live a good quality of life. This trustee came up with an alternative idea. During a conversation the trustee had with the beneficiary, it was found that the beneficiary really wanted to come and go as he pleased. The trustee arranged for the beneficiary to have a certain credit card he could use for Lyft to transport him anytime he wanted. The credit card was linked to the man's trust. There were guidelines the man had to follow, and he did. He was very happy to have some freedom again. Now, guess where the man liked to go? He would go a couple miles down the road for ice cream, watch the sunset, and return home. Since it's spring, let's dig a little deeper. What are your loved one's needs, wants, and desired outcomes? Parents may want to provide a predictable financial future for their child living with a disability. Of course, much thought goes into this for any child and any parent. Will the child be able to take care of himself on a daily basis? Will she want to work part-time or full-time? Will he have medical prescriptions or medical equipment needs throughout his life? Are the needs expected to increase over time? Will she be able to feed or bathe herself, or will she require assistance after you're gone? Of course, professionals in this industry help you think through all these questions, predict the finances needed to care for your child, and much more. You don't need to figure all this out beforehand. Just know it's part of the process. A few specifics most of us should consider include those items which we may or may not immediately consider. We may automatically start listing medications, therapies, surgeries, medical visits, or 24/7 help. But remember, there are other expenses which will be incurred, such as non-medical care, clothing, transportation, entertainment, and possibly vacations. After the topic needs is addressed, talk with your loved one about what he or she wants. Special needs trusts focus on paying for items or services not covered through insurance and government benefits. However, the quality of life is recognized as a priority, And the purchase of electronics equipment such as computers, TVs, and cell phones, and the occasional special request for an item or service can be part of the plan. Now, here's an example of how a beneficiary used some of his trust money in an interesting way. An older gentleman was residing in a nursing home. The nursing home only allowed its residents to have a 32-inch TV screen that's mounted to the wall. This man had very poor eyesight. With some convincing from the man's trust officer, the nursing home allowed the man to have a 60-inch flat screen TV mounted to his wall. This was such a blessing for him. Now he could not only hear the TV programs, he could see them too. This small gesture allowing the man to have a large TV changed his life. He became much more positive. He talked more frequently to other residents. He came out of his room and had lunch in the dining hall. He made friends. His health improved and he was happy. What are your loved one's desired outcomes? What does his or her quality of life look like? It's not the same for each person. Is it living in a certain area of the country because warmer weather is better for the individual's health? Or maybe the location is closer to medical providers or family members? Or is another outcome to graduate from high school or college? What does that look like? Quality of life is important, and it's within reach, even after you're gone. Despite all our thinking and planning, whether with industry experts or not, the first actionable step is simply to make that first phone call. I encourage using the phone too. As we move into the cyber world of email, sure, if your favorite way is communicating via email, then you can still do it. But know when you talk with someone in the industry, he or she is able to ask you questions, sometimes pick up on additional concerns that may help you during a conversation. I may be getting older and I sound like it, but I'll say it. I'd much rather talk to somebody on the phone than spend a lot of time texting. Our trustee shared a story about someone who called with many questions related to special needs trust. She was about to receive a large lawsuit settlement. She was living with a mental disability. She knew that if she accepted the money from the lawsuit, she might lose her government benefits. With the help of the trustee and her attorney, the woman established a special needs trust. The money from the lawsuit was deposited into trust. The woman used this money for alternative therapies like acupuncture, massage, extra therapy. She was able to regain some of her mobility. With her increased mobility and her go-get-'em attitude, she started taking classes. Within 2 short years, she graduated with a high school degree. Then 6 years later, she had earned a bachelor's degree. Today, she's a counselor for others who are living with a disability. She states that having purpose in life has given her the will to live and give back to the community. She's thankful for her special needs trust. It paid for her schooling. She's also thankful for the staff who managed her trust. You see, they listened to her through the years when she had fears. They encouraged her to keep going and pursue her dreams. Today, she doesn't let her disability hold her back. She lives each day to the fullest. It's March. There are many celebrations this month to bring attention to those living with disabilities and their loved ones who care for them. Yet we're learning to run in the spring rain. It can be maddening, sometimes surprising or unwanted, but it brings hope. It results in fresh, refreshed season of life. I'm ready to spring into action. I hope you are too. Well, this concludes today's episode of Choose Your Path, a Vista Points podcast. Subscribe now to your YouTube channel. Stay up to date on our latest episodes, which go live on the 1st and 15th of every month. Visit the Vista Points website online, vistapoints.org. You can find all our episodes there, as well as a blog of each podcast for your reference. This podcast is one way we create awareness, provide education about special needs trust. But this is not a one-way street. We encourage you to participate by asking questions. You may submit your questions via our Facebook page look for our page at Vista Points Inc. As we mentioned before, you can take your first step by calling Vista Point's office at 888-422-4076. Once again, that toll-free number is 888-422-4076. Each of the Vista Points team wants to answer your questions and assist you in whatever way they can. Enjoy your day with your loved one. Come back for more information on March 15th. I look forward to talking with you again. Cheers!